Guys, hi, my name is Girish Bali, the host for Back to Basics. Another Back to Basics on a week, another week of Back to Basics. So today we're going to talk to you about, well, it's a touchy subject, but it has to be talked, and we need to talk about it because it is a sensitive topic. It's a topic about relationships. Good relationships or bad, you make the judge as how this episode goes. And today I have Annalisa on the call, and well, I should say on my video call or whatever platform you're looking at. But I have Annalisa, and I've talked to her for weeks and weeks, and she's a dear friend of mine now. And we will keep on contacting each other from now on. Annalisa, thank you again for coming on my show and making this bright for me.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to it because, we weren't briefed on what we were going to talk about. So this should be exciting.
Awesome. So the first thing is first, Annalisa, before we get to the basics of the topic for today, what does back to basic mean to you?
When I heard it, it resonated with me because in my practice, I go back to evolutionary psychology. Those are just some areas of psychology that I use with my clients, helping them understand who we are, who we were at the very beginning, and how we have changed as society expected us to change, and civilizations developed, and all of that. But we're still very much cavemen.
Yeah.
Right. And when we understand the psychology of a caveman, it's kind of easy for us to appreciate who we still are. And, that's pretty much what Back to Basics meant for me.
But is that a shame that we have to think that way, that we lost it somewhere along the line and we're just going back again and thinking? You think it's due to COVID time that we're rethinking this, or has been that for a couple of years that we've been thinking this? From your aspect,
I really don't know if it was COVID that shook us into really reassessing the way we think and bringing about a different kind of awareness. I know for me, I could only speak for me personally, this is something that I've recognized years now, that medicine, for example, I'm from my ancestors are Indians, or were Indians. We used a lot of plants for medicine. And that's something I grew up believing in. I never really subscribed to conventional medicine. I was always afraid of, the damage that it could actually cause to my body. And that's not to say that, I don't agree with it. I think it's a personal choice. But, that there is going back to basics. That's what again, cavemen used, right? When it comes to my practice, human behavior, the way we think, the way we interact with each other, it's very much, hunter being hunted.
Yeah.
And that started with, again, cavemen. So, I use the caveman as an analogy a lot with clients. For example, if someone came to me and said, well, I feel stuck in this job, I don't like what I do, I asked them, are you a lion chasing olives, or are you a lion chasing a zebra? That goes to our animal instinct. If it's a woman who feels like her husband or partner, male partner, is not in tune with her emotions, it's nice to remember that back then men went out there to hunt. They were focused on bringing in the food. Their job was, they were wired to provide for their family, whereas women are wired to be nurturing. We take care of our children. We are highly in tune with what's going on around us. And that is why we could multitask.
Yeah.
And we're pretty good at multitasking, right? Because we could make sure that we're preparing a meal and the kids are taken care of, and there are no lions out there lurking, that could cause harm to our families. So I know I'm rambling, I'm going
No,
on,
no,
but
you're
that's
fine.
pretty much,
Yeah, you're fine.
what the basic back to basic is for me. Understanding um, our psychology, not just the way it is now, how society has molded it and changed it, but how it's really always been.
Yeah, yeah. But Annalisa, thank you so much for coming on my show. So now let's talk about the details of relationships, right? And according to me, okay, this is just me. I don't know about anyone else, but I have followed your journey of your channel and interviews and all that. Me personally, I feel that you're an expert on relationships, and I'm gonna ask you some few stuff if that's okay with you.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Thank
so
you. Yeah.
so there is a question when someone comes to you for a problem, a relationship problem. It could be anything. It could be a spouse issue, or it could be a family feud issue, or anything, right?
Mhm.
How do you resolve that by not bringing your own culture into this? Because it is definitely hard, right? So how do you differentiate between the culture that you are in versus the problem that you want to solve? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I studied psychology, and a part of psychology, one of the classes is how to detach yourself from a situation, how to emotionally detach yourself from a situation. So in that case, culture, how I feel really doesn't play a role. That's not to say that I don't care about my clients. I care deeply. I know what heartbreak feels like. Um, and so, I want to get them out of that pain. I want to help them out of that pain. Um, Extrapolating myself culturally from it. Now, I don't know if you know about attachment styles, but I've learned quite a bit about attachment styles. There are three attachment styles. There's a fourth, but generally three. There's the secure attachment style, the anxious, and the avoidant.
Hmm.
Those are three attachment style that goes across continents, cultures, religions, ethnicity. It's created in childhood, and it depends on your caregiver, who your caregiver was, and that's how these attachment styles get developed. They
Mm.
can change over time, but understanding attachment styles helped me to stay separate from my culture, my religious beliefs, or any of those things, like putting that onto a person. So it keeps me separated, because I know my attachment style, and it's just getting to know that person's attachment style that helps me to understand them better, and help them to understand themselves better, know what their triggers are, what are the things that might, strategies and techniques that will help them to heal, things that will set them back. So basically, it's really the attachment style that helps me to stay separate. And of course, I practice Buddhism, so all of those things incorporated
Yeah, yeah,
keeps
yeah.
me
But
detached and still at the same time able to help them.
take that same type of question and replace the culture as your personal background, which means what you went through with your relationships with any other relationship. Could be family, could be your spouse, could be anything. So how do you detach that? Is that the same concept, or is that going to be something different?
You mean, did my culture affect my relationships?
Yeah.
Oh, I was fighting my culture all the way. Um, my biggest question to my dad was why. Um, why couldn't I wear pants? Why couldn't I talk to boys? Why couldn't I play cricket? Why couldn't I climb a tree? In the Indian culture, girls are supposed to be at home, supposed to be wearing dresses, supposed to be polite, just supposed to be indoors. And I would look outside and I'd see these boys riding up and down and laughing and climbing trees and picking mangoes. And I wanted to know why. And every opportunity I got, I broke the rules. So
Mm.
I was fighting my culture, from a very early age, but I did see it affect people around me, people who tried to fit into the mold of being accomplished or being good, whatever good was according to that
Yeah.
family.
Hmm.
Getting a degree at a certain age, getting married at a certain age, having a certain number of children, having the white picket fence. I think, I don't know what it was about me, but I wanted to think. I think that was it. I didn't like being told how to think or how to be.
Hmm.
I wanted to be my own person, and at a very early age, I realized that life isn't textbook. There isn't a map for every person's life. We're all very, very different individuals,
That's right.
and we have our strengths, our weaknesses, and I believe that there's certain, who we are can be developed, or it can be shut down and buried by cultures if we allow them to be.
Yeah, yeah. So, Annalisa, I have a question here. So, let's say anyone's exes. I mean, it could be a ex-husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, any exes. Okay. Now, is it really necessary to have a closure?
No, I don't know if you've seen my most recent postings, but I just went through a breakup.
Oh,
Um, so this question is quite timely. Is it necessary to have have closure? I think so. I think it's not necessary to receive that closure from that person. You could give it to yourself.
hmm.
In many, many cases, you're not going to get that closure. And a lot of times it comes in a form of an apology or an explanation. And we look for that because we want to know that it wasn't our fault.
Right.
A breakup usually leave us thinking that we could have done more, we could have given more. Um, and so we're looking for that person to say, I'm sorry, I hurt you by doing this and this and this. We want a genuine apology,
Yeah.
right? Um, and many cases we don't get it. So, it's necessary, but you don't need that person to give it to you. You could give it to yourself. If you could just spend some time with yourself, reflect upon that relationship, write down all the things that you have given in that relationship, and write down what really went bad. Not what you think went bad, but we all know it's buried in our sixth sense. We know what went wrong. It's just a lot of times we don't want to admit it.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
um but look at it in the face, accept it for what it is, and then you'll know to yourself that there was nothing you could have done. For example, when someone's cheated on, the first thing they think about is, I wasn't worth it, or they valued the other person more than they valued me, or they loved the other person. And it's really never the case. A person who cheats is a person who's very broken. It's a
yeah.
person who needs the attention and the affection from that other person. It has nothing to do with you in the relationship.
Hmm. So, so
And
that's
again, that's one of the reasons I started studying attachment styles, because when you understand that, you'll know which attachment styles cheat and why they do. You'll know which attachment style lies and why they do. And
hmm.
when you understand where that's coming from, it's easy to forgive, let go, and find that closure.
So Would you take that same answer if it was a there was no closure when you lose someone, when there's a loss in the family, when there's a loss in the or even friends, even for that matter,
Are we talking about a death?
a death in the family, correct, or friends? You think you would use that same answer for no closure?
The same answer. And I know because I've done it. I mean, this is not something that I've just read and I'm spewing to you. I've lived all of this. Um, I think I've mentioned to you privately. I've been raped. I never, my rapist never came forward and said I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But I had to make sense of it, and I forgive him completely.
yeah,
Because I can't imagine what he might have gone through. You know, um, Death of someone. My mom died when I was 14. And I grew up feeling like she loved and preferred my younger sisters to me. And I
okay.
was angry for a very long time.
Hmm.
But I'm someone who is constantly working on myself. And it took a long time for me to realize that, wait a second, I'm a mother. I would not choose one child over the other.
Hmm.
I love my children. And I got to a stage where it's like, I'm an adult now. My mother had twins after me,
Hmm.
right? It must have been tough to raise twins. And, I was 3 years old. So I'm sure if I came in with, oh, mommy, I did this little bit of drawing, she would have said, shush, the babies are sleeping, which as a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, 5-year-old would have been devastating for me.
Sure.
So, but understanding where my mother was coming from by, trying to put myself in her shoe, I was able to let go of that, the anger and resentment that I was feeling. And at the same time, forgive the little girl I was for believing the things that I believed, and, the things that created a person who grew up needing affection and attention, and pretty much did just about everything to get it. And it was hurtful, but it's a process. So yeah, you could get closure, um, even when someone passed on.
Yeah. So, guys, I want you to understand, my listeners and my watchers, that, heartbreaks are tough. But the thing is that you are not the blame. Just think about that. I mean, you have to understand that there must be a reason why that happened, but you are not the reason. And that's what Annalisa is trying to explain. A person you lost, a person who you separated or divorced, or even in that matter with her trauma also, it's definitely a heartbreaking relationship, but you are not to blame. So just keep that in mind. We're just going back to the basics of that thing. Think about where the situation is. That's not you, it's a situation. So guys, just keep that in mind. So Annalisa, now, um, when people, they say a cliche statements to you when they come to you for advice, they say, uh, it's them not me, and it's you not, like, so how do you explain that? Is that a cliche statements, and do you explain that this is just a cliche and it's not you but me, or me and you, or
Well, I mean, this is going to probably refute a little bit of what you just said. Um, when I believe that while, relationships end, and if it's heartbreaking for you, if it's a betrayal for you, it's not your fault.
exactly,
If you do want a relationship to work, I completely believe in taking absolutely 100% responsibility.
exactly,
I believe that if both partners or both parties take 100% responsibility for everything, then you're going to meet that middle ground. You're going to come in and say, okay, yes, let's discuss this. What did I do? What did you do? Let's try to work this out.
yeah,
Um, it's easier to blame the other person. It's easier to be angry. it's very scary to own up to something you feel like you've done wrong in the relationship. No one likes to be judged. No one likes to be in that bad light.
Yeah.
What you have to push through is that fear of judgment, because I can't really help. I don't have the words to tell you how powerful it is to be vulnerable and own who you are. And that means not just the good stuff, but the really bad, ugly stuff about yourself. There's just so much power. There's, the moment you admit to yourself, to the world, yes, I've done something bad and I know I've hurt you and I'm sorry, there's a confidence that's replaced there, and you're no longer afraid. And that opens your soul to your partner, and that's what builds strong relationships. It's not the fluff. It's when you let the other person see the real you. That's what builds relationships. That's the thing that it's not easy to walk away from those relationships.
No, it's not. You have to be true to yourself. Just like the way you're saying that.
Yeah, and the thing is, people feel that. We feel it. You go out on a date, you meet with someone, you could feel when they're being real or when they're just putting on an act.
Yeah, yeah. So, thank you for that, by the way. So let's say, Annalisa, thank you for that comment there. So let's say if you lose someone in the family, if there's a breakup in the family, breakup meaning a divorce, a separation, or even a girlfriend, splitting, and family's definitely affected by it, right? In some way, right? So how do you detach the stressness in the family itself?
I think it's always, we're consumed with pain when you're going through, when you're suffering a loss. I want to deal with this separately, so I'm going to go through a breakup first. There is a lot of pain. There's a lot of there could be anger, there could be resentment before the whole forgiveness comes in. I think it's so important to remember that there are other people attached in that relationship. Like you said, there are, children, friends, family members that you might have gotten close to. It helps to reach out to those people. It helps to take their feelings into consideration because they're losing you as well, right? It helps to, I don't know, my process is, look, like I mentioned, I just went through a breakup, and I adore his siblings. And, I reached out to them and I said, hey, we tried, and they know we've been trying, and it didn't work out. And I really am grateful that you guys accepted me into your family and you treated me so well. I want you to know that I cherish my time with you. And I hope that at some point we could, keep in touch, maybe catch up for a coffee when you guys are in the city. So you let them know that you're not angry with them because of what happened with you and this person. You still love them. You still appreciate them. Because they're going to go through that hurt too. You've built a relationship.
Yeah.
When children are involved, it's a little trickier. But I tend to worry about how does this affect the child's perception of relationships, right? So it's a little more delicate, but communication, clear communication, is always the best course.
Yeah, but I think we're in this world that we have less communication. Have you noticed that? Because of technology and texting and FaceTime. Well, FaceTime is communication, but I think FaceTime is a little different than actual communication. This is how I feel.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not basic. It's not back to basic, and that's what we need.
Exactly,
That's what we
exactly,
need to always be aware of. We
exactly.
need to always be aware of that human connection that we need.
Yeah, yeah, and it's tough.
We need human connection, and that's why I was saying, there are other people attached to this relationship. It's not just two people. It's the
Yeah,
family and friends.
yeah,
So, it's all about human connection, and we don't allow technology to get in the way.
yeah, yeah,
When you want to have a serious conversation, think about how you'd feel if you wanted to have a serious conversation with your partner and they texted it to you. They texted a response. You're not going to like it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there.
One of the lessons I learned years and years ago, we've all heard it: treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, that's
Keep that
true.
in mind.
That's true. I mean, I was watching one of the comedy shows. I don't know which one, but it was a high school kid, dumping a girl, but he texted her saying peace, and that was a breakup. So take that same concept with other, adults really doing the similar thing, and it's not cool according to me. But maybe it might be a new thing nowadays. But me personally, maybe I'm still old fashioned that way. But I think the human connection has to be there. The human communication has to be there. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, we're going to evolve, but we don't need to disconnect from each other.
Right. Right. Yeah. And Elisa, let me ask you another one of the questions here. So when you have problems, where do you go? Now, there's a reason why I'm asking you this, okay? Because the stigma is that if we go to a psychiatrist, if we go to a guidance counselor or something like that, it seems like that it's a stigma. You know what I'm getting at? So it's a stereotype that you have a mental issue. Uh, is that a mental issue, or is that a normal thing nowadays? And what's wrong with that? I mean, why can't we go and just openly say that I'm going to so and so?
Well, yeah, there is a stigma, unfortunately. But look, getting some help, it's really just you owning yourself and saying, I want to live a better life.
That's right.
Right. If this is a time of COVID, if you start sneezing, coughing, body aches, all of that, you're not going to say, it's a stigma, I'm not going to go to the doctor.
Right.
It's very similar when you are, it's like physical pains. People are fine with you going to a doctor, and it's understandable. But if someone says I'm sad or I'm depressed or I've lost my will to live, people tend to say get over it. But really, this should really be a personal decision. How do you want to go through life? Do you want to go through it the way it's been happening over and over, and that nothing's changing? Or do you really want to get better? Do you want to live life to your fullest and just ask for some help?
Yeah. But for
I mean,
years
that's
but
so.
for years and
Go on.
years, we keep on saying that I want to go and get some help, and they say that I have a mental issue. So how do you break that? It seems like it's going for years, even today, even though that we're so beyond technology savvy and computer savvy and Facebook savvy and FaceTime savvy and texting savvy, but we're still in the backward basics, that you have a mental issue. How do we get away with that?
Well, I mean, look, there are clinical mental issues that you really need to go and see someone about. There's some people that you need medication for because they're chemical imbalances, and again, that's nobody's fault. It's just something that happens with your body.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
It's just like having a fever and you need Tylenol for it. Something happens to your body and it needs healing. That's what that is. If you need to talk to someone and you need to de-stress, trust me, everyone needs to talk to someone and de-stress. You're not alone in that situation.
Yeah.
If you're going through a heartbreaking situation, you're crying over your partner, you don't want to get out of bed, trust me, we have all gone through heartbreaking situations. We've all felt the same way. You're not alone. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you or you're sick. It just means that, going and asking for help is that you just don't want this cycle to hold you back. You don't want to be in this pain so you can't move. You want to get on with your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you asked me, how do I deal with it? I have a therapist. When I got my therapist, it was because I was going through a breakup, and I said, you know what, this is enough. Yes, I've done a lot of work on my own, but I need some extra help now.
Sure.
And I started with my therapist, and after a few sessions, I thought, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? Because I started digging up stuff from the past that I didn't realize was affecting my present life, and the way I saw myself, how I performed at work, who I was as a mother, as a friend. There's so much that happens in your past, and you really don't realize how it's holding you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a therapist and I have a coach. I'll take all the help I can get. I buy books all the time. But every day I see a slightly better version of myself, and that's what I aim for. So you've got to ask yourself, what do you really want out of life? And are you willing to ask for help, or are you going to let what people say hold you back?
Yeah. So let me explain here. So listeners and watchers, let me explain something here. If you have a problem, there's no shame. I'm keeping that clear. There's no shame of asking for help. Yes, you can ask help within your family and friends, but keep in mind that they'll be a little biased because they'll be asking, they know your background. These guys, they don't know your background. So which means that they will give you the ultimate truth of what needs to be done to get it fixed. And that's what Annalisa did. I think she got a counselor and she got a coach also to help her. Okay. She didn't go to her friends or family because somehow they already know her and they know her background. She didn't want that. She wants something brand new, a new advice, a new guidance. And that's what it's all about. It's not about you go to a psychiatrist and someone says that you have mental issues. That's a no for me. I don't know about you. You want to comment down and let me know how you feel, you let me know. But according to me and Annalisa, there's no shame in that. Just go. If you need help, go for it. So Annalisa, any thank you for that, by the way, because it seems like a lot of people are still in the stigma world and society, and we're still around that. And it's nothing to do with your or my background. I think in any backgrounds, I think there's still a stigma for that. So, Annalisa,
I can add to what you just said, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I often say to someone or to people, and they come in, it's like, yeah, I've got my family talking to me, my friends are supporting me. I'd ask, if one of your friends can't fly a plane, would you let them fly you somewhere? And they say no.
So then what do you?
Because they're not an expert in the field.
Sure, of course.
They're not an expert in the field.
Yeah.
So, the reason you come to a coach or you go to a therapist is because they're detached from the situation. You're not going to hear them say, oh, I know what you're feeling. That can be a very annoying statement when you're in incredible pain. Someone comes to you and say, I know what you're feeling. You start to think you have no
idea, right?
idea what I'm going through. So you're now filled with pain and now annoyance, but you have to be nice to the person who's talking to you because they're coming from, a place of care.
Yeah,
so you're adding more to yourself. The other thing is we tend to give advice to our friends and family based on our perception, right?
Mhm.
Based on how we feel about situations and we think we're going to act.
That's right.
And I say we think it's because we're outside of the situation. When we are faced with something, we tend to act very differently than we thought we would have acted.
That's right.
Right. So we're there and we say, okay, if I was in this, I would do this, this, and this. But the moment you're in it, you don't usually act the way you would have hoped to.
That's what
So
I'm
it's
saying.
very important to find someone who's trained.
Just like what I said, I mean, trained or no trained, but you need some outsider
Mm-hmm.
to tell you, because um, within the family or friends, they will be they already know your background, right? So we don't want that, right? So yeah. So any before I let you go, and it seems like I'm having an amazing time with you, and we talked amazingly here. Any last words before I let you go?
I think this is such incredible work that you're doing. And, I love to see people serve humanity, give back. I truly believe that that's why we were put here. We all have our little special gifts, and it's meant to serve and make lives better. But at the same time, it's so important that we take responsibility for ourselves too. You're doing your part, I'm doing my part. But when you're in pain, do your part to get out of it. And remember that when your life is affected, it's not just yours. Not that you have a responsibility to anyone else, but there is a ripple effect.
Yeah.
When you're hurt, everything around you is affected. And you get to make that decision. You get to make the decision on how your world revolves, how you move in your world. You get to own it. It's your life, your day, your moment. But you have to make that decision. What do you want? You've got to ask yourself, what do you want? But more importantly, why do you want it?
Yeah. Yeah. But thank you so much, Annalisa, for coming on my show and making this show a little brighter for me, and making it's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This was really a pleasure.
Thank you again. So, guys, we spoke with Annalisa today. We talked about relationships. We talked about good things and bad things. We talked about mental stuff. We talked about everything else. And there's again and again, I'm gonna keep on saying, there is no shame of just asking for help. You have to ask for help, and that's what it is all about. Going back to basics of what you are looking for, and that's what we're trying to do. So, guys, as always, there is a quote of the day, and the quote of the day is: pain makes you stronger, fear makes you braver, heartbreak makes you wiser. Now, just take that, analyze it of what I said, analyze the episode that what we talked about, and comment me, good or bad. Either way, it'll make my show stronger. So I will give you quality work as always every week, and I'll give you quality guests every week. And at the end of the episode, what do I always say? Remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Take care, God bless, and see you next week. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
Joy. That is the one I went back to. So now I can do a modern life with that wisdom.
Yeah.
It's not that all the modern life is bad, but the modern life that kind of interferes with our body clock, that is our diurnal rhythm, or that modern clock that makes us heavy on the work and very little on the being. That is the problem. So once you understand that, you get the wisdom from the introspection and go and approach the life and do the meaningful work for you rather than just being